The Non-Price Variables of Supply and Demand, by Harry Nickel. Non-price variables that affect supply are the cost of production and weather. The cost of production dictates how much of a product can be produced, and the weather can dramatically harm production. Demand is affected by the income and preference of the customers. A higher income will lead to greater spending, and customers obviously buy the item that they prefer. If the manufacturer's input cost remains constant, the quantity they produce relies solely on the cost of production. For example, if the cost of production doubles, the quantity produced will split in half. This will result in the supply curve moving to the left. The opposite occurs if the cost of production is to decrease. A 50% decrease in cost will allow the manufacturer to produce double the amount of goods. This will result in a rightward shift of the supply curve. Assuming the manufacturer keeps their input costs at a steady $500 and it costs $50 to produce 1 kilogram of the product, they will produce 10 kilograms of product. If the cost of production were to rise to $100 per kilogram, they would only be able to produce 5 kilograms of the product. If a natural disaster were to strike the area around a factory, the supply curve will shift to the left, reflecting a decrease in supply. A natural disaster could kill workers, prevent them from working, damage the factory, or completely destroy it. Any one of these would harm production and decrease the quantity supplied. Assuming one worker produces 1 kilogram of product per month, 100 workers will produce 100 kilograms of product over the span of a month. If a hurricane were to strike, killing 50 workers, only 50 would be able to work. If production continues at the same rate, only 50 kilograms of product will be produced. If the income of the buyer increases and their MPC remains constant, they will spend more money. The increase in spending will lead to a greater demand for the good. On the other hand, if the income of the buyer were to decrease, they would have less money to spend. This would lead to a decrease in demand for the good. Using a constant MPC and varying incomes, we can examine how income affects demand. We will use an MPC of 0.85 and incomes of $50,000, $100,000, and $500,000. Someone with an income of $50,000 will spend $42,500. Someone with an income of $100,000 will spend $85,000. And someone with an income of $500,000 will spend $425,000. Oftentimes, customers choose products that they like over ones that they don't. If customers like something, they will want to buy it. This will result in a higher demand for the product. This increase in demand will shift the demand curve to the right. If customers do not like something, they will not buy it. This will lead to a decrease in demand and push the demand curve to the left. If the two cars cost the same, which one would you buy? Obviously the Lamborghini. As a result, there would be a great demand for Lamborghinis. This massive demand would be driven purely by preference and is a spectacular example of how preference can affect demand. Also, the company that makes the vehicle on the bottom would probably go bankrupt. Everyone, please say hello to K-Money. He grew up on the mean streets of Vista, where he currently sells an illegal product which he imports by the kilo from Colombia. He puts the product into small bags and sells them by the gram. His business is both highly profitable and extremely risky. While traveling to Colombia during college, K-Money found an operation that produced this particular good. He used his life savings to buy the entire operation and began to sell the product back home in Vista. He smuggles the product into Miami by stowing it on cargo ships and pays for it to be driven from Miami to Vista. In order to avoid detection, K-Money pays the local police every month to ignore his operation. Roughly a year ago, a new police chief came to the village near K-Money's operation and demanded more money. The increase in bribe money led to an increase in the cost of production. Since K-Money's budget remained constant, he was not able to produce the normal amount of product. This led to a decrease in the supply of his product. K-Money became very irritated with the new police chief and took a trip to Colombia. A few days after K-Money returned home, the man's body was found. A new police chief was appointed and the monthly bribe returned to its previous level. This led to an increase in production and increased K-Money's supply. Many of K-Money's workers lived in a small house on the side of a mountain. One day, a hurricane hit the area. This knocked this house off of the mountain and killed all of those inside. The substantial decrease in workforce greatly reduced the amount of product that could be produced. This reduced K-Money's supply substantially. This is Alan. He just graduated college and got an extremely high-paying job. He has been a customer of K-Money's for an extremely long time. Because he is making substantially more money, he is buying a lot more of K-Money's product. Alan's massive increase in income and consumption have led to an increase in the demand for K-Money's product. Alan's high-paying new job required him to take a drug test. After failing the drug test, he was fired. The substantial decrease in his income forced him to buy less of K-Money's product. This led to a decrease in the demand for K-Money's product. After being released from prison, this man returned to Vista planning on taking over the market and putting K-Money out of business. Customers preferred his product to K-Money's and stopped buying K-Money's. This led to a decrease in demand for K-Money's product. K-Money was not pleased. K-Money tipped the police off on the activities of his opposition, who was arrested shortly thereafter. All of K-Money's customers returned to him. This brought the demand for K-Money's product back to a normal level. K-Money was extremely successful over the next year and earned this massive pile of money. None of the characters in this presentation are based on real-life individuals. While they may be alarmingly similar to actual people, they are not. Any similarities are unintentional. Furthermore, I do not condone buying, selling, or consuming this particular product. It is detrimental to one's health and should be avoided at all costs.